60th episode. We're just waiting for it to go live on YouTube. A few tap-ins here and a pack tap there.
Very shortly.
And there we have it. So we are live with ourselves now. Wonderful, we'll see. Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome to the Empower Hours show with myself, Sukhi Wahiwala, and sponsored by Salam Radio Peterborough, which is the home of our what you call it, local community radio station. This evening is episode 60 with another really, really amazingly gifted individual who's our guest this evening. Her name is Tulsi Vagjiani, also known as Tulsi Divine. And I would like to welcome, without further ado, Tulsi, welcome this evening.
Hi, Sukhi, and thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, the pleasure is all ours. I'm going to do a quick introduction of yourself, just so that everybody knows. If anybody already knows Tulsi and is following us tonight from all continents of the world, from North America all the way through to Australia, welcome, welcome. And Tulsi has a journey that's unparalleled, I have to say, honestly. She's currently a motivational speaker, a coach, an individual who inspires everybody she touches. But we actually go further back, where she was actually, as you can see, a third-degree burn individual, person who went through this through her life at such a young age. She's become an icon to so many. I have to tell you honestly, I send out these messages to so many individuals via WhatsApp and Facebook, etc. This is the first time I have had 22 plus, by the way, now Tulsi has increased since then, individuals who have text back saying, wow, she is inspirational, she's amazing, I was at my lowest point of my life and I listened to Tulsi and it completely made me realize how grateful I should be for everything in my life. So I'm so glad to have you on the show this evening on the Empower Hour show, where we inspire a generation, our next generation, to really try hard and push further forward in life. Welcome once again, Tulsi.
Thank you so much. And just hearing that, just receiving those 22 messages now, it's just amazing and it's full of gratitude. And, if you can change one person's life, you've done a great job. So
very beautifully said. Very beautifully said. The moment you can change one person's life, and that really, honestly, changing somebody's life, isn't that what we're really all here for? Isn't it wonderful? Well, the Empower Hour, just getting straight into the conversation, you know how it is. We're not going to hold anything back for yourselves. If you've got any questions, put it into the live and I will do my best to respond back to them as quickly as we can. But our focus is for the next hour is to give you a journey into Tulsi's life, to see how she lives her life and how she helps so many on this planet as well. So Tulsi, just before I can go anywhere else, how we start, we hold nothing back. So can we go back to kind of like a beautiful journey of when you first started off as a child? Where were you born?
So I was born in Upton Park in East London, in the UK.
East London, massive.
Getters of East London. Growing up in a really great, beautiful, loving family. Like a lot of Asian communities, very much family orientated. So my mom, dad, my brother, my grandparents, and cousins. And often, we don't even really call them cousins because we're so close. It's like brothers and sisters. So
yeah, that's a really lovely point to be had there. That actually in the Southern Asian culture, our cousins don't actually become cousins, they become brothers and sisters, don't they?
Yeah. And we just are so alike. We do so much together. Very community based. So I had that when I was young. I was very boisterous. Yeah. Amongst lovely, pretty exterior, there's a boisterous energy coming out. I was very much influenced by my granddad and my dad, both from the construction sort of industry, which was quite typical at the time,
so we're talking about an era of, let's say, we're talking late 70s, early 80s, is that right? So they're already in construction?
Yeah.
And so that's a really great achievement to be in the building trade at such an early time in the transition into the country.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, those were the kind of skill sets they acquired moving from India to Kenya, and then Kenya to the UK. So going to work with them on the weekend, it's just something I enjoy doing. So I just really liked being around them. But yeah, like I just felt really good being around them. I felt, supported. I felt strong. And even the school I went to, Upton Cross Primary School, had a
Hmm.
great friendship. Very popular. A lot of people knew me. Um,
Yeah, very vibrant.
very vibrant. But on the reflection of that, like, I guess I was called a bully, but I used to stand up to the bullies because I couldn't witness all that injustice that used to happen. Yes, it was all playground banter, but it was when, you know,
Yeah,
I
so
just, sorry, yeah, just saying, like, I just guess it's more about watching that just didn't sit with me.
So I'm just going to clarify something for me. Just go back there. You said that you could have been classified as a bully, but actually a bully to the bullies, right? So it
Yes,
wasn't necessarily picking on individuals who are weaker, less privileged than yourself. It was actually standing up for them. Isn't that right?
that's correct. Yes.
It's so powerful where you said that even at a young age, you would stand up for injustice.
Yeah, and I know at the time it was just playground type of injustice, but being picked on because of the way someone looked or the lack of their skills, for example, because they couldn't play that game, for example.
Got it.
It was
Yeah.
things like that, and it didn't sit with me. Often I was always at the head teacher's office. It was where I always belonged. you know.
Oh, goodness me. She probably thought, oh, here's this young lady who's coming back again. Who have you
Yeah.
been beating up this time? Or who have you been pushing around and standing up for? But just a question to yourself, I mean, did you find with the head teacher, did your head teacher at the time, I don't know, whichever it was, male or female, but did they actually understand your perspective of the world at that time? Were they realizing that you were standing up for something, or was it you're a bully?
No, definitely they understood me, and you can see they were sort of smiling amongst trying to tell me off, or you know,
Right.
like they would, the discipline side of thing, as in stay after school and those types of things. But they had to follow the protocol.
Correct. Absolutely. So how was school life, beyond that? For example, home life and school life. What was it? Were you a quiet child? I don't think you
Far
were,
from
but
it. I mean, does this look quiet?
quiet? What does that mean?
Quiet. No, I was very loud, very competitive, very much wanting to race boys. Didn't want to race girls. Very fun, very vibrant. I like to wear unusual clothes, like mismatched type of clothes. Although my mum used to like me put me in like prim and proper dresses and very girly, and it's far away from what I wanted to be. Um, and yeah, just
But
competitive, but always wanting to prove myself better.
I understand that, and I noticed you said something there, because obviously from that Southern Asian continent, there were families around that sort of circa 80s time, and it was a known sort of like a philosophy that girls don't achieve as much as boys. So I can clearly see that you really stood your ground and stepped up. Is that right? As you said, you were boisterous, or you were much more aggressive, just like your father and your grandfather, maybe. Yes. So
Yeah, absolutely.
competing. So you were excellent at sports as well. You're obviously at the top of the league and captain something or not?
Yeah, I used to enjoy sports, five-a-side football or sort of,
Football?
yeah. And I didn't really want to do netball or sort of girly type of sports, as we would call it. But I think I had a lot of, let's say testosterone. I had a lot of male
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah, a lot
And
of fight. A
yes,
lot of fight. That was a
yeah,
nice
a
way.
lot of
Yeah.
fight. I guess I was standing up for myself a lot of the times because cultural conditioned thinking meant girls couldn't do this, and you're only going to amount to this, or
Hmm.
you're going to have a limited shelf life, so to speak.
And sometimes do you believe, because obviously in retrospect you're looking backwards, that actually that was a kind of like you could say a dialogue that was handed down but not necessarily adhered to when it probably came to your own parents, and as you can see that there was already a framework change, wasn't there? Because sometimes we can become quite judgmental of that, but it suited a previous generation. Is that right?
That's correct, yes. It was never something that was put upon me
Mm.
directly. I think a lot of these things, especially in the South Asian community, it's not always direct. It's just something kind of what we've been handed down. And until you start questioning your own self, do you realize, ah, this is the conditioned thinking that doesn't actually now serve me, you know.
Got it. Got it. And then I suppose that would it be fair in saying that you were supported, you know, by the family and the fact that you wanted to compete, you know, in sports and also against the boys, you know, in that context of that. But, you know, were you supported by mum and dad as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been around a supportive family. I've never had any sort of limitations placed upon me of you can't do this or you can do this. I think they used to find it quite amusing. I think annoying would be the right word, but I think they find it amusing that, you know, head teacher's office, here she goes again, trying to reason with me, with my reasoning with them. And it's almost like going around in circles. And you can see they were proud with the fact that she's going to stand up for herself. I think that's something my dad really did instill in me.
Got it. And I suppose they kind of sneakily knew you were right. You know, you were looking after the people who were being picked on.
Yeah, definitely.
So how was your personality? Would you classify yourself as an introverted energy, or, you know, a person who'd clam up and quieten yourself down and think about other ways? But quite logically, it doesn't sound like that. But how would you classify your personality? What was your go get?
Oh, I think definitely extrovert. You know, very much out there. I guess probably wanted to be liked, wanted to be seen, to be heard.
Popular.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. And any significant memories of school, or, you know, post school, or any one memory that really, really shouts out to you?
School was fantastic. You know, I'm so fortunate that I've had great experience with school. I think for me, it was this one particular teacher who stood out for me, and even till today, you know, God bless his soul now, is he always said, go after your dreams.
Wow. That's that's like, you're talking about what, mid 80s towards tail end of 80s. That's a very early viewpoint. That's ahead of the time, ahead of the curve, as they say.
Yeah, but to be fair, I didn't understand it, because it was kind of like, oh, you know, teachers just say that. But every time I think of my primary school, he always comes to the forefront, and he always brings me that smile, because he just was very different. And he wasn't just about academic, he was very much about the external experiences. So like extracurricular activities, swimming, football, you know, you name it, it was about that. He always said, go after your dreams.
Feel free to mention his name.
Mr. Foster. So those who went Upton Cross, you'll know who I'm talking about. He was pivotal in a lot of people's lives. So.
Bless. So, you know, when individuals like that who truly have engaged themselves in their life journey and realize their purpose in life, they really do have that footprint that's left on the heart of many, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. So we know that, you know, you're a very jovial character, very fun, and, you know, wouldn't take no for an answer, standing for injustice as an individual, as a child. Little did we know that that was going to help you in the latter half of your life, which we'll talk about in the second half of this particular interview. But Dulcie, I just want to share and ask a thought process. You really have come across having a grave challenge in your life, and not just one, maybe even two. So I'm going to ask you kind of a little bit more about what happened. For example, the most significant, what we call a defining moment in your life that today has kind of, like, you could say, clearly characterized you and, you know, helped you hold your head high without arrogance, but with this humility and love that you truly are. Please tell us a little bit about what happened circa the end of the 90s, which is what a lot of people who followed you have been truly touched and inspired by you as an individual. And I'm not sharing this from just to pamper the conversation. It's genuinely true. You've also touched my heart as well. Earlier when we did a pre-call, I was completely blown away, and I was very close to tears myself. So please, you know, please share with the inspired tribe, the people following us on listening to us around the globe, and see how we can help them.
Thank you, Sukhi. Yeah, so, you know, like, school was great, late 80s, you know, in the last year of my primary school, my parents decided they were going to take us on holiday to India, sort of 3 months to travel around India, just to experience life and really teach me and my brother about our Indian culture, but just how we all live differently, and I guess to appreciate life, you know, with gratitude. So February 1990, we went to India. My dad hadn't seen his granddad in over 23 years. So we started off, my great granddad, yeah. So we went to see him in Gujarat in India.
Gujarat, just for anybody else who doesn't know demographically where this is classified as northeast, isn't it? Yeah.
West.
West. Sorry.
Yes, it's borderlines near Pakistan. So
that's right. Yes, got it. Please carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, we went to visit my great granddad, and at that time, which was quite common, suitcases used to get lost or misplaced. So we lost a lot of our luggage, and eventually it arrived back in Mumbai, sort of like a week later. So I got to meet my great granddad, amazing experience. Wow, seeing a village life, which is so different to the city life we have here. But enjoyed it. It wasn't like, ew, what is this? I want to go home. So we flew to Mumbai, and my parents thought, well, we'll go and get our luggage, but let's go towards South India whilst we're here. We had family friends in Mumbai. Me and my brother wanted to go Goa because, if anyone said, oh, you're going India, Goa is India, it's not anything else. It's not the city or the village life.
You want a beach. You want to sit there with a virgin pina colada.
Yeah, so that's what we thought India was. So, but my parents said, no, we're going to go Bangalore. And of course they got their way. I actually remember me and my brother were very moody on that trip. It's almost like we refused to get on the plane.
Not going. We don't want to go there. We told you we're going to go Goa.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we went on the plane. I was fighting with my brother because I wanted to sit by the window. And anyone who's an older sibling, the little ones always get their way.
You know it. You have to give up. Now, I was one of the younger siblings, so I was the one who got my way.
Oh, man. So, yeah, we just were fighting. And then this is where life as I knew it changed. In a split second, I heard my grandmother's voice, who I had now left back in the UK over a week ago. Because obviously I was on a holiday with my own family, my mom, dad, and my brother. And she said to me, Tulsi, you look different. Something big has happened. Mom, dad, and Kamlesh, my brother, have passed away.
Wow.
So in my head, this is like, I've left her back in the UK. Her voice is someone who's very close to you, not someone at the end of the phone back in, the 80s, 90s, where you could just about hear anybody. It was very crystal clear. And for a generation, grandparents' generation, who never showed their emotions, she was crying. So this just felt really weird. In my head, though, I'm fighting with my brother on the plane. And I actually now thought she's come on the plane to surprise us. So her words still haven't sort of resonated.
So just to clarify, sorry to interrupt you there, Tulsi, but so the accident, the airplane crashed from Mumbai travel to Bangalore. Absolutely. And you got on this plane. If I can just help the audience understand, the viewers to understand, you jumped onto this plane, kind of like you're affixed with the fact that you don't want to travel. So something inside you already on a spiritual level is saying, I don't want to go here, I want to go somewhere else. You're on the plane, yourself, your brother, and your blessed parents as well. And the last thing you remember is an argument, kind of like squabbling. I'm going to sit next to the window. No, I'm going to go next to the window. And the next thing that happens is that you can't remember the crash, can't remember anything, but you end up hearing your grandma's voice, and you're trying to kind of sew it together, piece it together, and say, what's going on? Grandma's not here with me. Have they surprised us on this journey in Bangalore or on the plane? The last thing I checked, I was on the plane, I was falling asleep, and I just woken up with my grandma next to me. Now, were your eyes open, or were you bandaged up, or what was it like?
Yeah, I was bandaged, in and out of sedation. So it was just a voice, and then I heard a young medic's voice after I can't say how long after, but that's the next memory I do have. And this young medic is telling me it's not a familiar voice. And he's telling me, Dulcie, don't worry, I'm going to look after you. There's been a big accident. You were involved in a plane crash. Oh. And I'm like, okay, again, I'm confused because where's my mum and dad? Mm-hmm. Grandma's come on the plane to surprise us. Here he's telling me I've been involved in a plane crash. What does that even look like? I mean, I'm still talking to my brother. How can I be in a plane crash? And he's explaining that all the doctors are on the the airfield where the accident has happened. So I'm going to be taking care of you. So now I'm a little bit sort of nervous, stroke scared, because I don't know this voice. But it could be someone on the plane for all I know. You know, it could be one of the air stewards for all I know.
And you could be dreaming. You know, you could have been dreaming, right? Because you were in and out of
Sedation,
consciousness.
yeah.
And just sorry to interrupt there again, but just a question I want to ask, very, very clear for the audience so they can understand how real this really is. It's like you're totally thinking you're in a dream and you're opening that context of conversation. You've been told that unbelievably you've lost what you saw as your immediate family, your younger brother and your parents were both gone. You yourself, and by the way, I just want everybody to understand, the viewers and listeners, just to see that this is something that Dulcie speaks about quite regularly. So this is not something that we're putting her on the spot by any means. I would never do that. And she's very comfortable nowadays in these last 5-10 years to be able to be sharing this story with everybody here. This is a journey for us to understand how truly grateful we should all be with our own lives. And I know the Inspired Tribe who follow us and our local people in Peterborough already have this view of life, but it's just wonderful to accept that we are very, very gifted and very blessed in our current living life. Dulcie, back to yourself. Sorry. So you're in this hospital bed, and in essence, you're not even aware because you're floating in and out of heavy sedation due to the excessive pains. What had actually happened to you?
So I sustained 45% degree burns to my face and body, a fracture on my right arm. You know, that's as much as it was on the physical level. I mean, obviously on the mental level, that was going to come a lot later. But the transition between the accident happening, which was 14th of February 1990, not a date I'll ever forget, but to being flown back to the UK was a matter of 3-4 days. Okay. But in my reality, it was 10 minutes, you know.
Yes.
I have no concept. So I'm flown back to the UK with a family who, one of the members actually pulled me out the plane wreckage because he was looking for his daughter.
Oh my goodness. So you were actually pulled out of the plane wreckage, not by any medics or anything like that. It was actually another family member who was looking for his own daughter and logically saw you, so he pulled you out as well.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. So he's pulled out his family, obviously looking for his daughter to see that I'm on top of her. Just pulled both of us out. I mean, like I said, I have no idea what was going on because my eyes were bandaged, in and out sedation. But I'm flown back to the UK with this family. Obviously, by this point, my grandparents have arrived at both sets, mum and dad's side. They've trusted this family to take me back to the UK.
To the rest of your UK family, in essence, but that would have been from hospital to hospital, wouldn't it?
Literally hospital to hospital. So I'm flown back to the UK. I was taken to St Andrew's Burns and Plastic Unit in Billericay, Essex at the time. They're now based in Chelmsford. So I'm flown there, so I'm being sent there, and I'm now greeted, I would say greeted, but yeah, I'm now greeted with my other family members, aunties, uncles, cousins, who are saying, who are in the UK, are saying the same information that my grandma was saying to me. Dulcie, you've been involved in a plane crash. You look different. Mum, Dad, and Ganesh are no more. And it's a bit like, I feel like sometimes I'm making that information up, but it's so clear that even now I know those words were that.
Is it fair to say, Dulcie, to kind of like, it doesn't matter what people think or even what you think at the time, it's your reality. This is what happened.
Yeah.
You know, you were in and out of heavy sedation, of course, that, you know, it's whatever memories you can piece together at that particular time. Now, in around 2006, I had, about 14 years ago, I had a near-death experience, but by no means had I gone to this extent of being sedated so heavily. So I can't remember, even at the low level of sedation that I had through morphines and chemicals such as that I can't remember. I can piece my family telling me that you were looking and you were talking, and I have no memories of some of the talking. And sometimes I have memories of pain, you know, that's all I have. But please do continue. I mean, how your family here were obviously very, very loving and very caring, and they supported you 100%, didn't they?
Absolutely. Look, Essex, where this hospital was, it's not easy to get to, but amongst their mourning, because obviously they've lost a brother, sister, nephew, they've lost a lot. So amongst that, having young children, they showed up every day. They showed up regardless of their pain. They showed up to show me that they are there for me. They've had obviously a lot longer to process that I do look different. It's not the Tulsi they knew. This is sort of the new version. But where my eyes were still bandaged, I had no concept what I looked like. So to me, I was still Tulsi, as in, joking and being silly, as I know myself to be, in and out of theatre with, plastic surgery, skin graft.
Goodness me. Goodness. What an internal will that you were blessed with, that knowing that robustness, that boisterousness that you had was going to assist you in life, full stop, actually creating the change in your own, giving you that drive to push through this as well. So brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and then sort of about 4 to 6 weeks post accident, the opportunity came where they removed the bandages from my eyes. And, the nurse asked me, would you like to see yourself in the mirror? And I was so determined, because I'm still Tulsi. What does looking different even mean? Maybe my hair color's changed or something, But even like, at the age of 10, what does looking different even mean?
Yeah. What does it look like? Yeah.
What does it look like? So yeah, I mean, when they removed the bandage, checked my eyes was all fine. Was very excited to hold that mirror, and held the mirror in front, and the person in the mirror wasn't me.
Wow.
It was a face that someone had drawn on. It's not me. Who is this person? Somebody looks quite hideous. But the person in the mirror who was moving their mouth and their eyes, it soon hit me that was me.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to visualize understanding that you're saying things, you're moving things, you're moving your head, you're seeing that in a reflection upon yourself. But at no point do you even associate with this person. You don't even know what this person is.
Yeah.
But then somewhere inside that you just said it started to realize that that's me, because I'm opening my mouth and the mouth.
Yeah. And then I looked down at my left hand, it was like heavily scarred at the time, but really red, raw scars, metal rods sticking at my fingers.
Oh, metal rods. Sorry, apologies for the ability to understand, but really this is so important to understand. So in your left hand, you had metal rods holding?
Yeah, sticking out my fingers to straighten them, because obviously in the accident they were sort of deformed almost, if I can use that word correctly, but they had to straighten them.
Goodness me.
Looking at this red raw hand, it sort of felt, okay, something has happened, but whether naively or optimistically, I genuinely felt that in a year's time there's going to be this cloth, none of this will exist, it's okay. Yeah. This is nothing.
Push through, this is fine, everything's going to go back to normal.
Yeah, it's okay. This is just a momentary blip.
Yeah, and we have to admit that at the end of the day, you're a 10-year-old child.
Yeah.
So the optimism is absolutely clear, and optimism is the secret elixir of life, isn't it? So we understand that being the optimistic individual, looking for a better outcome, is the key to life, and we're going to talk about that in the second half as well. So there you are as a 10-year-old. You've just seen this stranger speaking with your voice, and you felt looking different. So what changed in your world thereafter? Because there was quite a lot of things, like, for example, you went through studies before, you were very much a competitive natured individual. Did that change?
No, it didn't change, but I was now starting secondary school. So in hospital, everyone treated me as me. Nurses and doctors are used to seeing someone with scars, so it was nothing unusual. My family have now got used to me looking this way. So presumption was, when I leave hospital, the world's going to be great. Everyone's going to accept me as I am. So that's the least of my worries. But this is where reality was, where the name calling, the bullying, people staring, people crossing the road.
Wow.
In case they caught something, children throwing things at me to see if I have emotions. And
really, see, children are sometimes unknowingly very brutal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it can be
unknowingly.
really harsh actually. So
Yeah.
yeah, so, with that, I thought, is this how it's always going to be? But when
Mhm.
I was in school, it was great. So I did enjoy studying because I was now starting secondary school after the summer. The school had been prepared with what I'm going to look like. Please
Mhm.
make friends with her, make her feel welcome as you would anyone else. And they had a big assembly. So when I started school the next day,
Yeah.
I made great friends. Until today, I still, they're in my life now. So if any
Oh,
of them are watching, absolutely adore and love you.
feel
Um,
free to share names. It's up to you. That's not.
yeah, I mean, just thank you so much for the support. They do know it because I share it very openly with them. But, they paved a lot of that self-love sensations from then. But obviously, I didn't know at the time. So the support. So no, it was great. But
So
I
now you've
couldn't,
got. Yeah, please carry
I just couldn't focus on study because I was in and out of hospital.
on.
So whilst that was going on, internally, I didn't feel clever. Internally, I didn't have no worth. I didn't feel good about myself, but I was just kind of keeping afloat. But I couldn't share the bullying with anyone because it was almost like, oh no, don't be silly, T. Those things don't happen. It's okay. Don't worry about it. We still love you.
Yeah. So basically, I suppose we could say that the family, your immediate family, your uncles, aunts, etc., were doing what they understood as the best they could possibly do as well by giving you the support and saying, listen, look, the most important people are the family. We're around you. We're still here. You'll
Yeah.
go through. Did that kind of a incubation help you?
Not really, because although they were saying that, because I'd already built up this barrier where I had no self-worth. I I I thought I was ugly because the words ugly were thrown around, and you look like Freddy Krueger. So I started to believe that's who I was.
Right.
So even if they said you're beautiful or don't worry, Dulcie, this is fine, it's almost like it just repelled off.
Bounced. Got it. So I suppose there's a message there for families who are probably facing in a similar way, maybe they've got a child or who's going through the same purpose, or even an adult going through this, where sometimes actually just listening, is that right? Just listening
Completely.
to how they are would
Yeah,
really help more than just
yeah.
saying you're lovely and you're beautiful and everything's fine, we're here for you. But that's needed as well. But there has to be that element of belief, is that right? Of listening to stuff. And how do you think a bit of advice coming from a person who is the actually person who's taken that journey, what is your advice to parents or to loved ones of people who've been affected?
Yeah, I think it's quite it's so different. But like I think I was just taught, we brush things under the carpet. So a feeling was never sort of honored. It was just like stop being silly. So even just
Ah,
not saying something like that to a child is big. It's just like you said, listen,
yeah,
sit with that person and just go, okay, I hear you. I'm not sure how to help you, but you can come to me and we'll find ways to help you. Would have been a lot different. But I grew up with my grandparents, so it's a different generation.
completely. And they were doing the right thing by themselves at the time.
Absolutely.
Correct. And I know you love them for that, and you're obviously here today with us. But there was a section in your life where you started to kind of evolve a little bit into the physical elements of things, and you started, from my memory and understanding, you're also a Pilates learned individual teacher, and you studied a degree as well. So could you just tell us a little bit about your journey? Because obviously this is kind of like post-secondary school.
Yeah.
What happened in your world there?
Yeah, so I started Pilates back in year 2000. That's when I was in the midst of my depression. So again, something we don't talk about openly, or we didn't talk about openly back in that time, even now we struggle. But I was in the midst of it. I used to overeat. The weight was piling on. I couldn't see that. Obviously, my health was deteriorating at some extent, but I couldn't see it.
Mm.
And I went to the gym, met my Pilates instructor, Nikki. Thank you so much, Nikki. But Nikki helped me on an individual journey with Pilates. I had no strength in my body. My mind was strong, my will was strong, but my body was so weak. and she helped train me. And as my body shape was changing,
Mhm.
somewhat of my confidence was developing. Don't get me wrong, the self-loathing conversations were very much there.
Mhm.
But there were still bits where I could look in the mirror and go, oh, actually, you look okay. You know.
Bless you.
So yeah, that went on, and then year 2004, an opportunity came up. There was a degree in complementary therapy, specializing in Pilates and massage, and it was just too good to be true.
Wow.
So I just had broken up with somebody I was seeing at the time,
Mhm.
completely devastated. My self-worth went again. So I threw myself into this degree, and I thought, right, I'm going to make something of myself here.
Full speed ahead. This is it.
Yeah. And then bearing in mind it was a science degree, so that kind of scared me, thinking, oh my God, I'm not even good at science. I'm not good at anything. How am I going to do this? So, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just went with it.
I have to just pause you there. I do apologize because there's something that is very important that you've just brushed over that I think it's just because of the fact that you're so strong-minded and able and just go for it, let's get it done. That you believed that you were not clever. You believed that you were not scientific in any way. And also the course or the degree that you did take really pulled on your heartstrings and felt right, but you knew there's a high content of science. So you were willing, kind of like, not optimism, you were willing to take that challenge on.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, taking that challenge on is a great message for the children today, because we have such young listeners who also listen to this and realize the fact that actually calling people names and actually, throwing things at them or bullying them physically isn't a good thing at all. And if anybody here as a child is feeling or is receiving this kind of a challenge even through this COVID downturn in our communities, which is a very, very serious matter as within itself, then please reach out to your school teachers. Reach out today. They have a complete system that allows the support system we use there. So do not suffer in silence. This is a very, very big message for everybody to go. Sorry, apologies. Go back to your
No,
experience.
absolutely. It was really crucial to mention that. But yeah, so threw myself into this degree, and then sort of into the second year of my degree, I started to feel very unwell. And old lecture halls, if anyone's been in old lecture halls, are very stuffy, especially the UK universities. Dingy feeling. And but yeah, so I started to feel unwell, but I just thought maybe it's the environment. I got myself checked out, and my blood pressure was really high.
Uh-huh.
My GP rushed me to A&E. My creatinine levels were really, really high. And they did a biopsy of my kidneys, which was really unusual because I've never really been ill. I didn't hardly even had a cold.
Yeah, 24-year-old, 25-year-old person who's not really, you're well, you're in Pilates, you've started to move around, your body's starting to shift and build muscle as well. You're feeling great. You're at the top of your game.
Well, really good. Not even an infection. Never really had to visit the GP for anything. So very unusual. So yeah, they did a biopsy. The consultant came around and said, Tulsi, you've got end-stage renal failure.
What?
And all I heard was, you are dying. That's all I heard.
So end-stage kidney failure.
Yeah.
Renal failure. You had that at the age mid-20s, and that was my God, as though you've not had enough already.
Yeah.
At that particular time. So, wow. So the whole conversation's been had in front of you, and I suppose the words that have really shot out at you that you're dying.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I mean, that's not even what he said. Obviously, he just said end-stage renal failure. But of everything that I've been through, am I really going out like this? And that's what I think upset me more, was I'm going to die because of my health. Like, it just didn't sit well with me. But my auntie, who's been through my journey, taking care of me like a second mom, she was there, and she said, no, Tulsi, the consultant said, there's a transplant, there's dialysis, it's okay, you're going to be okay. And I guess I stepped back and went, okay, look, rationalized it. Mm-hmm. But I said, okay, fine, if that's what it's going to be, go with it. I didn't fight that.
In this, sorry, I can't understand what you've been through, and thank you very much for sharing this in such a deep way. We've reached halfway through. If we've just joined us, we've been having a life-changing conversation with Tulsi Vagjiani. Please do rewind back And please listen to the journey of her plane crash. And now we've just got to the stage of her kidney failure as well, renal failure, and coming from a bright, bubbly, standing for no injustice individual to the whole world being completely changed. But there's something about Tulsi that you're going to hear in our second half that we're now going into with reference to her current, with her at that time, a mid-20s, she had a kidney failures, that she wouldn't take kind of no for an answer. And then she's touched on something, saying, you'll hear in a moment, we're going to go through a bit more. Thank you very much for joining us at this moment. That is this really how I'm going to go out? You know, this is how it is. So Dulcie, if I can just ask you a deep question. Did you ever think that, look at what I've been through? You know, I survived a plane crash, and I'm standing here and I'm going to be faced with death by kidney failure. Is that the kind of thing you were feeling? And what effect did this have on you? Because that gusto, that gutsy get up and go, did that kick in any way?
Yeah, it did kick in straight away because my determination was to finish my degree. So no matter what this was,
Wow.
I will deal with it later. First of all, I've got this degree to get through. And within the diagnosis stage, to me, then being on dialysis was only a matter of 4 months. So for just to get my head around the diagnosis to then being trained for dialysis was 4 months. I was then trained up to be on my dialysis machine, which I was dialyzing at home every night for 8 hours.
8 hours a day?
8 hours, yeah, at night.
It really was end stage, because I've got family members, extended family members, who have had kidney failure to an extent, and they're going through dialysis, but it's kind of like, what, 3 times, or 2 times, 3 times a week, and it's usually when they're going to hospital. But you, as a vibrant mid-20s matured individual, have decided to take on that responsibility yourself at home.
Yeah, so it's just because I was healthy, so I was able to do it at home. It's equivalent to 3 times a week, so it wasn't sort of, because I had more severity than others. It's just that doing it at home meant I could have a relatively normal life. It meant I didn't have to go to hospital. It meant I could go to work, in this case, go to university. So I would set up my laptop and my books on the bed. I'd set up my machine. I'd connect myself, do my assignments, whilst I'm in bed.
Hang on a second. Sorry. You connect yourself up to a dialysis machine and then you did your assignments.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. That's exhausting. The dialysis machine, when you spend 8 hours on a dialysis machine, you come out exhausted at the other end, and you connect yourself and then did your work. Yeah. What grit. This is such unbelievable mindset. Beautiful. I applaud you.
Thank you. Well, for me, I had to finish this degree, so I had to do
Oh
it
my
somehow.
goodness. Wow, this is amazing. I'll tell you what, you've really changed aspectually how people sometimes think of themselves today. In my world, people feeling kind of sorry for themselves, that kind of thing. And look at you, full of life, and going through a renal failure as well. So Dulcie, to Sean, I just want to know, I want the audience to really understand you as an individual, because that's your journey, but you've never been the victim. So what's your philosophy behind this? I mean, what do you do today? You've pushed through, 2 major incidents, 2 significant, life-changing, life-defining incidents. So what happened at that moment? Because you've just realized that this is not how I'm going to go out, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's what happened. And as soon as I finished my degree, I had a kidney transplant, which was absolute hell on earth, to be honest with you.
Wow.
I thought me facing a plane crash and even being diagnosed was bad, but being ill whilst having transplant has got to be the worst experience. That's the only time that I've ever wanted to give up.
My goodness.
Now you're talking, I was 30 at the time. So in the sort of from, age 10 to having this accident to being 30, 20 years, never had that thought come to me where I just want to give it up, right?
Enough.
Yeah.
None of
it had little odd days, but nothing sort of heavy or went along with it. But this was because it's so painful. But this is something that's really important, and I will share this, is one night when I was in one of the admissions that I had, eerie at night, you know, machines going off in and out. Like, I mean, I've had lots of medication, but the image of Krishna came up. Now that's the Lord Krishna deity in Hinduism. But he came up and it was like I could touch him. It was real. So obviously I thought I was hallucinating.
Wow.
All I heard the message was surrender onto me what you cannot control. And to me, it didn't mean nothing because, like I said, I was looking around thinking, someone on the ward, what's happening? Has someone drawn this, you know? But those words were so pivotal. Don't get me wrong, my life didn't change just then, but those words sit with me even now.
So surrender.
Surrender onto me what you cannot control. And just meaning trust, let go of what you can't control. That has helped me to where I am today.
Unbelievable message and unbelievable timing for yourself. And that obviously was so significant through the medication and the pain that you can remember it clearly. And actually being visited by Lord Krishna is something very specific and very, I think it's a very deep blessing within itself. And for everybody else who doesn't subscribe to any kind of a God facilitation, just deem it as a form of divinity of the ether. That's what it is.
I wasn't really, you know, don't get me wrong, I wasn't even religious, or I didn't sort of have any preference, so it didn't mean anything to me at the time. But you know, going forward now, life had new challenges, but I was just grateful to be alive, you know. And when those words came, that's when I realized I don't want to give up. I've got a lot to live for. And life started to change when I met the Katie Piper Foundation back in 2012, 2013, and had the opportunity to talk on stage to medics about my story. But up until this point, I just thought my story was just my story. It's just no big deal. Everyone goes through stuff, you know?
Oh, as they do. No, they don't. Not the level you've been through, lovely.
Well, that's how I thought. I just thought, you know, everyone's got their lot. We don't need to keep talking about everything. What's the point? And I guess growing up in the South Asian community, it's like we don't talk about things. I did feel ashamed of my story because the way I looked, you know? And when I did speak and I got a standing ovation, and thank you so much for sharing your story. Wow, you've changed my life, or whatever they said. And I did it again. And don't get me wrong, I was shaking like a leaf.
Yeah. And this is like speaking in front of what, 100, 200 people at the Katie Piper Foundation, and talking to them.
Yeah. And just talking and sharing, but more than that, they were on the edge of the seat wanting to know more. But I'm like, why are you so fascinated with my life? I mean, like I said, it wasn't a big deal for me.
But your perception, that's right. I was going to say your presumption of life was assumption that you had no net worth, you know, you had no value to give anybody.
Yeah.
But the fact that those individuals who were there realized the inner strength, like our audiences today, and what I'm in awe of your will and your push through of life, full stop, that they gave you a standing ovation. And in this situation, we've got standing ovation, just leads to your motivational speaking today, because this is a core part of your life, isn't it? I mean, what are you up to today?
So yeah, I mean, I'm a speaker, I'm a Reiki master. I also campaign for the fashion and beauty industry to change what beauty actually means, because all the work that I've done on myself, you know, I live a true, authentic life to who I am. And for me, beauty is an individual journey. I am my own definition of beauty. I'm not yours or anybody else's. I don't need the world to tell me I'm beautiful. I know that myself.
Yes, absolutely. What a beautiful message to be given to everybody. And actually, we met at, I think was it the Visage?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were speaking that event. This is why I fell in love with that conversation. I had to have you on this show. So importantly for myself. I was a judge at the beauty pageant, and don't have a laugh now, everybody. Yes, little old me was a judge there. But you were also there, and you were actually the inspirer with your fashion head on, and actually telling your story, which was wonderful. And that was what, 3 years ago now. Yeah. It was with Roshni Ladwa.
Yeah. I mean, another amazing soul. But yeah, you know, just that so much has changed even in that. But owning myself is because I work on myself. I work on my authentic self. What I present to you is who I am at home, who I am wherever you see me. You know, for me, that's very important. So this is what I do.
Today.
Today, I help people transform their lives from that victim mindset to a survivor thriver mindset.
I love it.
You
It's
know,
beautiful, beautiful. So now I know you're a very learned individual. You've taken a lot of side, what we call esoteric and also academic learnings. You're a very learned individual. You've done neurolinguistics, you've NLP, as we understand. You've done Reiki. You're a grandmaster. You've done so many other things, like I think it's called human design. Is that correct as well? So you're a very learned individual, which is proof within itself that you as an individual are the true light of self, that you are here for a mission and a vision. My question to yourself is, if somebody wants to connect with you and book you for some form of, even if it's virtual, but some form of keynotes or connection, addressing with a community of whom, how would they get hold of Tulsi Vagjiani?
Well, I'm on Facebook, Tulsi Vagjiani. I'm on Instagram, Tulsi Divine 108. I've also got my website, which is tulsivagjiani.com. So yeah.
Brilliant. And they could just reach out to you like that, and then you can communicate back with them.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So I'm going to say to yourself that I would have you as an after dinner speaker every day of my life. So I'm going to make this space to make sure I can have you physically when sort of the world goes back to sort of like post COVID. We'll have you at one of our inspired dinners, 100%. So I want you to just hark back deep inwards. Dulcie, I wish I could spend another 2 hours with you. It's been enlightening. It's really been hard hitting to really connect with us internally, to make us realize how grateful we all truly are in our life. The one thing that really astounds me and really shouts out to me when I see you is A, your beauty as a human being, but B, this grit of you better get out of my way because I'm coming. One of those sort of feelings. It's like, get out of my way, I'm coming. So I really want to try and pick your brain a little bit and ask if you could give some kind of tips to anybody who's feeling these isolations or medical issues for about a minute or so, just to share some thoughts about what they could do to get themselves out. And I know you're a qualified helper of people, you're a qualified therapist as well. So what would they be able to do to get themselves back on their feet besides watching this interview, without a doubt?
Yeah, watch this interview. No, but I think it's just taking ownership of yourself. We give so much power away to the external without even knowing, but really take this time out to work on who you are, what's important for you, and your focus. And I always, like, especially, we talk about mental health and physical health, emotional health, but my mental health was so intense that it affected my physical health. So it's to encourage people to start working on your mental health, mental well-being. That will help with your physical. I was so ill post-transplant that even my consultant was like, what's going on? Today, my blood results have been better than they were when I had my transplant. And that all I can say with that is the work I do on myself daily, the gratitude is the biggest fundamental change in my life. Gratitude even for the fact I have healthy cells in my body. Wow. Now that's quite, massive, but then obviously all the other things that come with it. That has helped me. Waking up every day and just thanking, in my case, Lord Divine, that I'm here. I'm still able to do the work that I've come here to do.
Yes.
My mission, what drives me every day, when people ask you, what gets you out of bed, is I'm here to do God's work. I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to be best pals with anyone. I'm here to do my work, which is to serve, which is to help people live their true, authentic self.
This is actually, I was going to ask you a question. Leads perfectly to a real key question we ask everybody on the Empower Hour show. And I hope everybody's thoroughly been inspired and understands that they are the light of the divine. If we said a bit of a kind of an epitaph moment, and by no means am I calling that forward because you have next 100 years out of your life yet still to go. If there was such a thing as something that would remember, something that would not encompass you by no means, but something that you from inside of yourself, Dulcie, would like to have written on that epitaph. Of course, we're Hindu and Sikhs, we cremate, I understand that, but let me give you a sentence that I'd like you to finish. It will be like, here lies Tulsi Vagjiani, who, what would you add to that for eternity to remember you?
What a beautiful question. I would add, she helped me live my true authentic self. She helped me take me back to who I am.
Wow. So Tulsi Vagjiani, the lady who helped me find myself, or go live my true authentic self and be
Come
myself.
home to myself, yeah.
Oh, amazing. That's. I hope that message is really eminent and within this discussion we've been having for you, Tulsi. I can't believe how fast the time has gone. We have 5 minutes left of the conversation, and that's it. But I'm not going to let you off that easily yet. I'm still going to hold you to this, because you've thoroughly inspired me as a person, as an individual, to be doubly grateful for what life is within itself. You know, whether we lose people, whether we gain people in our lives, whether we're standing tall, or whether we're, you know, slouching over, or whether we're caring for somebody, whether we're being cared for. Going through all of your life's journey, and if you've just joined us now, please rewind right back from the start. This is a life-changing interview with Tulsi Vagjiani, or AKA also known as Tulsi Divine. I would honestly recommend that you follow the tips that Tulsi has been giving you just a moment ago in the last section of this. But Tulsi, I just want to ask you one more question. Wisdom. Wisdom seems to be exuding from you. You seem to be that jovial individual who really, really wants to help other people, wants to grow them. But I'm asking you a simple question. What words of wisdom could you leave with the audience this evening?
Something that's really sat with me quite a few times was, be the change you want to see in the world. I mean, I know we've seen it quite a lot, you know, Mahatma Gandhi. But for me, those words resonate. I change and I work on myself so that I can present the change I want to see in the world. You know, we can't just say, well, this isn't right and this isn't that, if we're not going to put the work in, you know. We can see injustices everywhere, but we've got to work on those within ourselves to then be able to work through the other injustices that we can help. For me, you know, we talked about my childhood and, you know, fighting those injustices in the playground. I now know it was a bigger thing for me in this part of my life, is fighting other injustices, you know, things that aren't right, or being the voice for some of the people who haven't quite found their one just yet.
That's just beautiful to hear, that original loop back to the start as being a child. That's wonderful to hear that what was inspired as a child, even through all of the changes that you've had in your life, adversities, that it still reigns supreme within you as an individual who's creating that change within others. For myself, honestly, and on behalf of the Inspired Tribe and Salam Radio and all the local radio listeners as well, I must say this has been an amazing return to the to the Empowered Hours show, because we took a 2-minute sabbatical. Thank you so very much, Tulsi, for being you, for emanating you, for sharing some of your beautiful pearls of wisdom. This evening has been, for me, it has been really a blissful time speaking to you. For the best part of it, I've been greedy enough to speak to you for 2 hours, and I've enjoyed that myself. I think what we'll do is we'll probably have you back for another 2 hours at some stage in the future. But it's been an absolute pleasure. And on behalf of myself, Sukhi Wahiwala, your host, the Salam Radio team, senior team, and each and every one of our Inspired Tribe who follow my series, thank you very much for being our guest who's truly empowered us today in episode 60. Thank you very much. So this evening, just to let you know, if you're going to catch up the rest of the time, we're going to be the same space, same time next week with another coveted guest, somebody who's going to truly touch you internally, emotionally, giving you the tips of how you can further and better your own little world and lives, taking that inner empowerment, not as a pessimistic or as a pompous conversation, but the real true self, getting the authentic self out of every individual as themselves. So I'll see you. This is the Empower Show every single Tuesday between 7 and 8 o'clock, live on YouTube Live at this current moment. I want to thank you on behalf of myself and thank you all very, very much. Tulsi, once again, thank you for being yourself, and thank you for being our guest this evening. Take care, guys.